The Prodigal Mother Returns. A woman abandoned her baby years ago. Now she's back, begging the rancher who raised her daughter for forgiveness. But the girl doesn't know the truth, yet. The wind howled across the Wyoming plains, bending the tall grass like a supplicant bowing before a merciless God. Eli Garrett tightened his grip on the fence post, his calloused hands indifferent to the splinters biting into his skin. He had spent the last 15 years building this ranch from nothing, fence by fence, cow by cow, sunrise by lonely sunrise. And now, as the late afternoon sun cast long shadows over the land, a stranger stood at his gate. She was slight, her frame swallowed by a threadbare coat too thin for the biting autumn air. Her dark hair, streaked with premature silver, whipped around her face like a tattered veil. But it was her eyes that arrested him, wide, desperate, and filled with a sorrow so deep it seemed to have carved hollows beneath them. "Please," she whispered, her voice cracking. "I need to see her." Eli didn't move. He didn't need to ask who she meant. There was only one her in his life, the girl who had become his world the moment she was left on his doorstep. "You lost that right 12 years ago," he said, his voice low and rough as gravel. The woman flinched, but she didn't look away. "I know. God, I know. But I need to explain." To her. Eli exhaled sharply through his nose, his breath fogging in the chill. He could turn her away. He should turn her away. The law had long since declared him Lily's legal guardian, and no court would side with a woman who had abandoned her child in the dead of winter. But the past had a way of clawing its way back, no matter how deep you buried it. Inside the house, the screen door banged shut, and a voice, bright, young, untouched by the weight of this moment, called out, "Pa? You out here?" Eli's chest tightened. "Lily." The woman's face crumpled. She took a step back, as if the sound of her daughter's voice was a physical blow. "She calls you Pa?" Eli didn't answer. He didn't have to. The truth was standing right in front of them. Lily Garrett was humming as she crossed the yard, her boots kicking up little puffs of dust. At 12, she was all coltish limbs and boundless energy, her sun-streaked braid bouncing with every step. She carried a basket of eggs in the crook of her arm, her free hand absently stroking the head of the old border collie trotting beside her. Then she saw the stranger. Her steps faltered. The dog let out a low whine, pressing closer to her legs. "Who's that, Pa?" she asked, her voice tinged with curiosity, not yet suspicion. Eli forced his expression to stay neutral. "Just someone passing through, needing directions." The lie tasted bitter. But the truth, "This is your mother, the one who left you in a basket on my porch," wasn't his to tell. Not yet. The woman, Mara, he remembered suddenly, though he hadn't spoken her name in over a decade, swallowed hard. Her fingers twisted in the fabric of her coat. "You have a lovely home," she said softly, her gaze darting between Eli and Lily. "And such a pretty daughter." Lily beamed, always pleased by a compliment. "Thank you. I'm Lily. Are you lost? Pa knows all the trails around here." Mara's breath hitched. "Lily," she repeated, as if testing the weight of the name on her tongue. That's a beautiful name." Eli couldn't take it anymore. "Lily, go on inside and start supper. I'll be in shortly." Lily hesitated, glancing between them with the first flicker of unease. But she nodded. "Yes, Pa." As soon as the door closed behind her, Mara's knees buckled. She caught herself on the fence post, her shoulders shaking. "She's alive," she whispered. "She's alive, and she's happy." Eli's jaw clenched. "Did you think I'd let anything happen to her?" Mara shook her head, tears streaking her cheeks. "I didn't know. I left her here because I'd heard you were a good man, but I never knew if." "Why now?" Eli cut in, his voice low and rough. "Why, after all this time, are you here?" Mara lifted her head. Her eyes were red-rimmed, but her voice didn't waver. "Because I'm dying." The words hung in the air like a gunshot's echo. "I'm dying." Eli's hands, still gripping the fence post, went numb. He had imagined this moment 1,000 times. Mara returning, demanding her child back, forcing him into a legal battle he couldn't afford. He had never imagined this. The wind whistled through the tall grass, carrying with it the scent of sage and the distant lowing of cattle. Somewhere in the house, Lily was clattering pots, humming off-key, blissfully unaware of the storm gathering outside. Eli exhaled sharply. "You'd better come inside." Mara hesitated. I don't want to upset her. You showing up at all is going to upset her, Eli said bluntly. But she deserves the truth. And you don't get to drop this on me and then walk away. Mara flinched but nodded. She followed him toward the house, her steps hesitant, as if she were walking toward an execution rather than a weathered ranch house with blue-checked curtains in the windows. Lily looked up from the stove when they entered, her eyebrows knitting together. Oh, you're staying for supper. Eli took off his hat, running a hand through his hair. Lily, this is Mara. He paused, then forced out the words. She's your mother. The spoon clattered against the pot. Lily's face went very still. For a long moment, the only sound was the crackling of the fire in the stove. Then, slowly, she turned to Mara. My mother, she repeated, her voice flat. Mara's hands trembled. Lily, you left me. The words were quiet, but they cut like a knife. Mara closed her eyes. I did. Lily's breath hitched. She looked at Eli, her eyes wide and wounded. You knew. Eli's chest ached. I knew she left you. I didn't know she'd come back. Lily swallowed hard, then turned and walked out of the room. A second later, the back door slammed. Mara swayed on her feet. I shouldn't have come. Eli pinched the bridge of his nose. You think? I just wanted her to know. What? That you're sick? That you're sorry? Eli's voice was low, but the anger simmered beneath it. You don't get to ease your conscience at her expense. Mara's shoulders slumped. Then what do I do? Eli looked toward the door, where Lily had disappeared. You wait. And you hope she decides to hear you out. Lily didn't come back for supper. Eli found her in the barn, curled up in the hayloft with her face pressed into the old quilt she kept there for nights when she wanted to listen to the rain on the roof. The barn cats circled her like silent sentinels, their tails flicking in agitation. He climbed the ladder slowly, giving her time to tell him to go away. She didn't. He sat beside her, the hay prickling through his jeans. For a long time, neither of them spoke. Finally, Lily whispered, Did she ever try to find me before? Eli sighed. No. Lily's fingers twisted in the quilt. Why now? She says she's sick. Lily went still. Is she lying? Eli hesitated. I don't think so. Lily let out a shaky breath. Do you hate her? The question caught him off guard. Did he? He'd spent years resenting Mara for leaving, for forcing him into a role he'd never asked for, but he couldn't hate her. Not when her abandonment had given him Lily. I don't know, he admitted. Lily nodded, as if that made sense. Then, quietly, she asked, What do I call her? Eli's throat tightened. That's up to you. Lily wiped her face with her sleeve. I don't want to talk to her yet. That's okay. But... Lily hesitated. Will you tell her she can stay? Just for tonight. Eli studied her face, the stubborn set of her jaw, the vulnerability in her eyes. She was so young, and yet so much wiser than he'd been at her age. Yeah, he said softly. I'll tell her. Mara slept in the guest room that night, though Eli doubted she slept at all. He didn't either. Every creak of the old ranch house seemed to echo the unspoken words between them. Regret, grief, the weight of 12 lost years. At dawn, he found her sitting on the porch steps, wrapped in the quilt Lily had left outside her door. The gesture had been silent, but it spoke volumes. Mara looked up as Eli approached, her eyes shadowed with exhaustion. She still hates me. Eli handed her a cup of coffee. She doesn't know you enough to hate you. Mara wrapped her hands around the mug, letting the heat seep into her fingers. I don't even know where to start. Start with the truth, Eli said. All of it. Lily came out an hour later, her boots scuffing against the wooden planks of the porch. She stopped a few feet away from Mara, her arms crossed tightly over her chest. You're still here, she said. Mara nodded. I'd like to talk. If you're willing. Lily hesitated, then sat on the step below Mara, putting space between them. Okay. Mara took a shaky breath. I was 17 when I had you, she began. Too young to know how to be a mother. Too scared to ask for help. Lily's fingers dug into her sleeves. So you left me. I thought you'd be better off. Mara's voice cracked. I'd heard about Eli, how he'd taken in his sister's kids when she passed. I thought, if anyone would love you, it'd be him. Lily glanced at Eli, who stood silently by the railing. His presence was steady, an anchor in the storm of emotions. And now? Lily asked. Why come back? Mara looked down at her hands. Because I was wrong. You deserve to know where you came from, who I was, even if it's too late for me to be your mother. Lily was quiet for a long moment. Then, softly, is it really bad? The sickness? Mara nodded. The doctors gave me a few months, maybe less. Lily's breath hitched. She looked away, blinking hard. That's not fair. No, Mara whispered. It's not. A tear slipped down Lily's cheek. I don't know if I can forgive you. Mara swallowed. I don't expect you to. But... Lily hesitated, then reached out, her fingers brushing Mara's hand. I'd like to know you. While there's time. Mara's shoulders shook. She clasped Lily's hand like a lifeline. And for the first time in 12 years, Eli saw something like peace settle over both of them. The next few weeks were fragile, like the first ice of winter, thin and easily shattered. But slowly, carefully, Lily and Mara found their way. They walked the fields together, Mara pointing out wildflowers Lily had never known the names of. They baked bread, Mara teaching Lily the recipes she'd learned from her own mother. And at night, they sat on the porch, watching the stars while Mara told stories of the girl she'd once been. Reckless, hopeful, too young to understand the weight of her choices. Eli watched it all from a distance, giving them space but never letting Lily stray too far from his reach. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Mara turned to him. Thank you, she said quietly. Eli frowned. For what? For giving her what I couldn't. Mara's smile was sad. A home. A father. Eli looked at Lily, who was chasing fireflies in the yard, her laughter ringing across the land. She gave me just as much. Mara nodded. Then, hesitantly, will you keep telling her about me? After. Eli met her gaze. Every day. Mara's eyes filled with tears, but she didn't look away. That's all I ever wanted. And when the time came, too soon as it always does, Lily held Mara's hand and whispered, It's okay. You can go. Mara smiled one last time. And then she was gone. Epilogue. Years later, when Lily stood at her graduation, Eli pinned a locket around her neck, one that held a tiny picture of Mara, young and smiling. Lily touched it gently. Do you think she'd be proud? Eli kissed her forehead. I know she would. And as they walked into the future, the past walked with them, not as a shadow, but as a light, guiding them home.